Richardson, civil rights attorney at McCune Law Group, getting into it once again, breaking it down, the law and common sense.
All right, well, they cue up that video, which we have seen over and over again, of that surveillance of what happened, cell phone video of what happened. Let's bring in trial attorney and law professor Joe Richardson. Joe, great to see you. We just heard some really important testimony. This about the mom. I think we're starting to have more and more questions about why she was charged the way that she has been. Attempted second-degree murder, same as her husband. And we're hearing this eyewitness say that, yes, the mom wasn't acting necessarily appropriately with how serious they felt the injuries were to the daughter, but I'm not hearing that they felt that the mother was hurting her daughter.
Right, yeah, and it's really interesting. I mean, we'll have to see how it continues to develop because, you know, mom got charged the same way that she did, and he seems to be, you know, the chief catalyst in terms of the thing that everybody's trying to break up right away. But after that happens, things still aren't over. There's also previous incident, right, involving the mom. She wants to say that she didn't understand the protective order, the extent of it, because she didn't, because of the language barrier. But is she really going to be faultless based on the fact that at some point, in some circumstance, in some way, she's going after her daughter's neck too? So it's very interesting to see how this shakes out. And believability is going to be everything. I think the defense is right about that. But the question is whether or not they're really going to believe that this creates reasonable doubt. The whole idea that there was a chaotic scene. It seems clear that dad was trying to kill the daughter, that mom was along with that on some level. And what does that end up meaning for the final charges?
And that's the big question. You raise a good point, Joe. The fact that she had this prior incident where there was the restraining order, the boyfriend's dad gets involved. She knows through a court order that she's not even supposed to be on that property. Do you think that got lumped in with prosecutors evaluating this case and believing she must have known about this attempted murder because she should not have been breaking the rules in a prior time? Is that allowed? Or can we bring in what they did a couple of weeks ago into what happened in this incident?
Yeah, there are ways to get in, you know, potential prior bad act. And, you know, you can kind of get it in through a back door too, at least in terms of some, you know, some other exception that allows it to be viewed, frankly, for the merits, particularly to the extent that maybe on some level it impeaches even her own defense. No, I wasn't trying to kill her. I didn't have the intent. You know, those types of things. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but it is very interesting because it's clear kind of where the dad is. And I think the dad's in bad shape here. But the question is, does mom actually go along and does she know enough where once this really happens, people can't look at this thing and make it into something other than, no, she's trying to harm the daughter as well. So I see why they did what they did. It's probably a harder case than the husband, but they've got some stuff to work with there.
That's fair. And with them both sitting at that table together, I think that'll also make it more complicated for the defense to try and get these jurors to separate them in their minds. Joe, stand by. Let's get in a break. When we come back, we've got more of this eyewitness testimony, including the reaction to the video in front of the jurors. After this, don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thank you for being with us. Let's get you back inside of the attempted honor killing trial that we are watching together in Washington. Parents Ihsan and Zara Ali, they are charged with the same second-degree attempted murder charge. Prosecutors say that they tried to choke their own daughter to death for refusing an arranged marriage in Iraq, but the jury hasn't heard anything about that arranged marriage. That was part of the initial police report by this daughter to authorities. It was kept out through a motion in limine. We're going to pick it up where we left off. We're listening to testimony from a teenage eyewitness, Athena. Because she's underage, we're not showing her face, and there's going to be video that she's going to talk about, that surveillance video. We can't show that as well because there are minors in it, but we will show you our own edited version.
Can you indicate which version?
Yes, Your Honor, and I am publishing the road version of the bus video.
And starting at what time?
2/12/52. Permission to publish?
You may.
Thank you. 1331. Athena, I'm showing you with this red dot on the TV screen, someone that is on the middle right-hand portion of this image that's wearing sort of the green color pants. Do you recognize that person?
Yes, ma'am, that's me.
Okay. And what was happening at this point?
Fatima's dad had grabbed onto her after he punched Isaiah, and they fell onto the floor, and the kids started trying to get him off of Fatima.
And where were you going at this point?
I was going to maybe help or assess the situation if they needed help. You know, I didn't know really what was going on in the first place. Nobody really did, so just going over there to try and figure out what was going on and help her as much as possible.
Okay.
Hitting the pause button before this cross-examination starts to bring back in our guest analyst who is standing by. We have Joe Richardson with us, civil rights and trial attorney at law. I'm still going back to the mother, Joe, and I do want to ask you about what you think about seeing the video along with this eyewitness. But I'm wondering if you take the father's actions out, if there's no father there, what we have seen from the mother, what we've heard people say that she's done, do you still have, just with those actions, second-degree attempted murder?
I think it's harder. I think it's much harder because, you know, I think the prosecution is absolutely planning on and counting on having them connected at that table, literally and figuratively. There's more gray area if it's not the dad, if it's not the dad. But here's the good news for the prosecution is that so much of this seems to have been done in conjunction. I think that the previous incident still comes in and would be considered. There's nothing to suggest that mom and dad are not on the same page. So without dad, would you still have mom? It would be a harder case, of course, but I think just in terms of how they moved, you wouldn't have mom at all if you didn't have dad at all. It would be both of them or neither of them. The mom wouldn't be doing what she's doing without dad's approval. And so I think that what the court can say, what the prosecutor can say is that, yeah, these guys move together and they have separate acts that are in conjunction with one another and consistent with their plan to do X, Y, and Z. And so it would be harder without the dad, but you wouldn't have the mom at all without the dad because they run together.
Yeah, it sounded like a conspiracy, collusion, that they had to have perhaps plan this out beforehand, at least have some kind of understanding between each other that this is our goal, this is what we're carrying out. I love the analysis, Joe. Let's talk about exactly what we are hearing. And I first want to play some of the cell phone video because it really does show what these eyewitnesses had to go through. We know one of these young witnesses took out their phone, which is what so many young people do, not just young people, everyone, when they see an incident happening. Let's go back to that moment. Keep in mind, this is graphic to watch. Joe, that refusal to let go, even when people are punching his head, I think that also goes to what the prosecution wants to prove here.
Yeah, I mean, he's choked her out. He's as focused as he can possibly be. There's no two ways about what was going on. Nobody punishes their kids that way. Or we know that if someone does, we know that there is a serious problem. And he choked her out. Choking somebody out can cause death. He was trying to do, and in the honor killing space, unfortunately, we've seen this once or twice. The goal is killing. The goal is not, oh, I'm just going to choke you out to teach you a lesson so we can keep going. No, you have undermined our honor, and therefore X, Y, and Z has to happen. This is this climactic, this thing that has a result of her being disrespectful, her not agreeing, and them knowing that she's not going along. And it's clear what he's trying to do. And he seems to be so determined that they couldn't even draw him off of her. It was very difficult.
Yeah, really scary to see it from that angle where he is just unmovable in that space, even when the bus driver is trying to talk him down. Joe, stand by. We're going to get to our break. When we come back, we have a lot more ahead of this trial, the case against Ihsan and Ihsan Ali. These parents whose 17-year-old daughter, she's 18 now, she already took the stand in this case, and now we have a lot more witnesses ahead to corroborate that testimony. Stay with us.
What happens when the bus comes?
I try to go to the bus.
And then what happens?
My dad grabbed my hoodie.
And what happened next?
I don't remember.
Okay. So your dad grabs your hoodie. Does he say anything?
Yes,
And what did he say?
my daughter
Okay. Where is Isaiah during this?
beside me.
Okay. Is Isaiah still patting your back, or is Isaiah doing something different?
Trying to push my dad away.
What is this dad thinking about as he watches his daughter testify against him? And we may not know in this case in Washington against Ihsan Ali, where he may take the stand. We could get more insight that way, but we don't know. It's, of course, his right not to take the stand, along with his wife, who is his co-defendant. This case is all about a 17-year-old girl, Fatima. She allegedly ran away from home in the early morning hours of October 18th, 2024. And she told police when they initially got to her after this report that she feared her parents were going to be forcing her into an arranged marriage in Iraq. Her parents, Ihsan and Ihsan Ali, they tracked her down later that day outside of a bus stop where her father then, according to the video that we've seen, was trying to choke her. And prosecutors say he was trying to choke her to death. So he's charged with attempted second-degree murder. So is his wife, and a list of other assault-type charges. Let's get you back inside of the courtroom now. We're listening to a teenage witness on the stand. She's now under cross-examination by the defense. Because she's underage, we're not showing her face, but there are two attorneys there, one for each of the parents.
I think I just want to clarify a couple of things. You were talking about when Fatima's father came
Yes.
to the scene, right? And you said they were having a conversation. And you reported that nothing got physical until the bus arrived. Is
Yes,
that right?
sir.
Okay. And how far away from everyone were you at that point, from Isaiah and Fatima and the father?
The bus stop isn't too big, so I'd say like maximum 20 feet.
Okay, and were you watching what was going on?
Yeah, well, I was like not fully tuned into it, but I would look over because it was
Okay.
obnoxious. It was,
And then, so when the bus came, you saw her father reach and grab her shoulder?
yes.
Okay, and at that point, is that when Isaiah got
Yes, sir.
involved? And what
Yes,
did
sir.
Isaiah do?
He had tried to grab onto the father's arm and been like, "No, you're not gonna grab her," basically.
Okay, and then, so at that point, the video started, the bus was coming?
Yes, sir.
That's right then, right? So the punch then that you're talking about from the father was that punch that we saw?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And then, just to clarify too, the man, we're jumping ahead now in time. When the man came out of the truck and came across the street, when he got to the group of people, how long was it from that point until father let go of Fatima?
It was a few seconds. It wasn't.
Pretty quickly?
Yeah, he
Okay.
wasn't trying any longer after that.
Okay, so there was no further struggle from the father? at that
Right.
point. Okay. Now, at that point, did you notice, had Fatima's mother shown up yet?
Not at that point. I don't think so.
Okay, so she wasn't actually there then when the whole incident itself was going on?
No, she just came to the aftermath of what was going on and saw everyone detained on the floor. And
All right. And did you see another woman that was
Yes.
there? Okay, and that, do you know her?
I've seen Fatima running or like walking around with her at school, so I was just assuming it was her sister.
Okay, all right, so you assume that the other one was the sister. And you saw her, did you see her filming? I don't know. We don't use film anymore. Did you see her with a phone?
Recording.
Yes.
I can't say I remember that, no.
Okay. We heard on the video, and I don't want to play it all over again, but we heard someone saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Was that her sister yelling at that point?
I don't want to say yes and not be 100% about that, but
Okay, but it could have been.
yes,
Okay.
that would have been the only person yelling.
And then her sister, she came with the mother? Or did she
Yes,
get there
sir.
later?
She came with the mother.
Okay. Thank you very much. And so, but we've established at that point, when they both arrived, Fatima had already been let go.
Right, she was just kind of limp on the floor, and then the father was detained at that point.
So Fatima then was moved after that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Yes.
Mr. Larry, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we had that cross-examination where we're still hearing more about the mother getting there in the aftermath of all of this. Let's bring back in trial attorney and law professor Joe Richardson. Joe, it seems that there's also an issue of parenting and parents' ability to control their children that may be at issue and in the minds of these jurors. Do you think that that plays into this at all, or are they going to be so shocked by what they see in that video that they're like, this is in no way like any parenting that should be allowed in this country?
Yeah, I think it's going to be B. I don't think that they're going to get that much deference as parents to have basically what amounts to a choking incident. And if the mom is not clearly distinguishable in intent and goal from the dad, she runs the risk of being just as liable, right? And so that's the problem she's going to have. The other problem that they're going to have is the fact that these witnesses are coming up. They don't have a dog in the fight. You know, the daughter testifies a certain way, which is not, good for them. The sister testifies a certain way, which is not good for them. But these are people, these witnesses are not people you can attack and cross. You can't attack these folks for credibility, et cetera. Maybe you sideswipe them on a detail here or there, but they're going to be very believable. Their shock, I think, is going to be shared by the jury. And so for that reason, I think mom has the potential to be in trouble here.
I would love to get your law professor thoughts on something our viewers keep asking about. That's about the trip to Iraq and perhaps the reason not being able to be shared with the jury. But we're learning more details, like that the dad wasn't planning to go to Iraq. And this was something where the mom missed her sister and they didn't want the daughter to stay at home. So it seems that it's still curious. It's still not proven beyond a reasonable doubt what the reasoning was. How do you feel about the judge's decision to keep out those certain terms, including arranged marriage and honor killing?
The judge is being super fair because there's an argument that speaks to the motive, right? But even then, if the previous threat comes in, and I think that it did,
it did.
If the previous threat comes in, the judge probably says that's enough, right? And so would the prosecution be better off with the rest? Yeah, they would. But they also get to say, and this is probably why dad doesn't get on the stand, right? Because theoretically that stuff could be brought in, but they still get to say so much, and this seems to be so out of sorts. I think it's going to be hard for them to divorce from the reality that this is a serious problem and he was truly trying to hurt his daughter.